What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Trevor here from Way of the Swan, back again with another awesome battle report. I really hope you guys enjoyed my Templecon 2016 Masters coverage. That was pretty fun to do, and I'm excited to do future convention reports. This is a local game I played a while ago, and unfortunately it was a long time ago I recorded this video, so I'm not going to be super up on the details, but hopefully give you guys a general overview. And hopefully that tides you over until I can do some recap of the NOVA Open Masters. I did play in the NOVA Open Masters, but the games were recorded by Advanced Maneuvers, and those guys were kind enough to send me the raw footage so I can do some commentary on a couple of games. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll be releasing a couple of videos from NOVA Open, and a huge thanks to Advanced Maneuvers. Please go check out their channel if you are interested in seeing the raw footage or the super awesome battle reports those guys put out too. They are just champions. Big announcement before we get into this battle report that I'd like to talk about is that if you follow my Facebook page, facebook.com/wayoftheswan, you will know this already, but I started a Patreon campaign for this YouTube channel and my blog. For those who don't know, Patreon is an online service that lets you donate to content creators on the internet per piece of content that they create. So that's for every blog post or every article or video that I create. You can choose to donate for that. You can set a monthly limit so that you don't go over budget or anything like that. And in the not too distant future, I'll be putting up some cool rewards. I think at the start it'll be pretty simple things, Google chats and stuff like that. But it would be exclusive videos and things like that potentially in the future as well. So stay tuned on that. You can check that out at patreon.com/wayoftheswan, and I do appreciate all the people who are on there already donating, and if you choose to donate, I really appreciate it too. I don't have any plans in the future to make any of these videos. I'm going to keep all these videos free is what I'm trying to say. So there's in no place in the future are my YouTube channel or my website going to be money gated anyway, but if you do choose to donate, there might be some additional videos and content for you in the future. But anyway, that aside, let's get into this game. We have some awesome Legion versus Cygnar. We'll get started with the Legion player here. As you can see, the scenario in this particular game is going to be the pit. So there's a big circle in the center, as well as one flag on each player's side. The player can dominate their own flag for one control point, control the zone for one control point, dominate the zone for two control points, or control for one control point their enemy flag, or dominate it for two. And there's a kill box in play, so the Warcasters and Warlocks are going to have to move up outside of 14 inches of that table edge so the opponent doesn't score any control points. The Legion player today is bringing Saeryn1, the Omen of Everblight. Bit of an interesting choice here. A lot of Legion players wrote off Saeryn when the new rules were released. She obviously lost a lot of power, and the matchup she particularly liked to play isn't really around anymore. But she really did change her scope a lot. She brings a couple tools that are really interesting in the current meta game. First of all, she can use her feet to sort of fight gun lines. Unlike Lilith3, who is good against gun lines, but only if they don't bring magical attacks, Saeryn, with the +3 armor for her feet, isn't really worried about what kind of attacks you're bringing against her. She's just using raw stats to sort of try to buff through their ability to kill. She's really good with big, heavy war beasts, stuff like Typhon and Carnivians. My opponent's playing a bunch of lighter stuff, including Zuriel, 2 Angelii, a Seraph, and a Protector in Saeryn's battle group. The Protector, hopefully, to take a little bit of the heat off of the lighter war beasts if they do end up getting hit. There's also 2 Hellmouths, the Black Frost Shard to help with a little bit of armor cracking there, as well as 2 Spell Martyrs in the list. Another thing that Saeryn does really interestingly is she brings Blightbringer, which has changed to be less of an infantry control spell and now shut down heavies really hardcore. She can cast it on a heavy or a colossal and stop them from being able to run or charge because they aren't going to be able to spend focus to get out of the Blightbringer AoE, and she can potentially even Breast Stealer them. So a Breast Stealered Colossal inside of that Blightbringer AoE can't actually leave it. So it's going to be shut down for a turn, even with its range attacks. They're not going to be able to boost those range attacks and get a lot of work out of that Colossal. Saeryn was mostly put into my opponent's pairing here to fight Kara Sloan. She could use that Blightbringer trick to shut down Kara Sloan's Stormwall and then try to grind out on Scenario, using the feat to buy her a turn of relative safety against the gun line and just see how it goes from there. Over to my list. This is a really interesting list I played for a while. It's a bit of an older one, so I don't play it as much anymore, but I do like it a lot, actually. It brings a lot of armor cracking, so if I need to really kill heavies, this is the list I think I would do it with. Whereas the list I'm currently playing has a lot more solos and is a little more well-rounded, and can offer some assassination potential and infantry clearing, but isn't quite as just raw damage output as this list. So the list has in it Dynamo, Ironclad, and Thorn in Haley's battle group, along with a Squire attached to her. There's a Journeyman Warcaster with a Firefly. There's obviously a lot of electrical damage rolls in this list, so the Firefly is very important. There's a full unit of Stormblade Infantry with their unit attachment, a full unit of Storm Lances, as well as Ragman to buff up some of the damage there. So the idea here is that the Ironclad can move out really early and trade up really well. Haley can make it threat very far, and then you can hopefully increase its damage output with Ragman to the point that it actually gets a lot of work done. And then Dynamo really can clean the game out just by shooting heavies down, especially with the Firefly bonus. And Dynamo, alongside the Stormblade Infantry, can usually kill a heavy on Haley's feet turn, potentially the same turn you send the Ironclad in. And then you have the Stormblade Infantry's melee attacks and the Storm Lances to mop up late game. So here we are getting into the game. Obviously, Legion is taking the first turn and moving everything up early on. It looks like we have Banishing Ward on one of the angels there, as well as Respawn on the other one to protect both of those from Haley's shenanigans. So just a quick note, I mentioned it before, but this game was played a long time ago. It was before my computer unfortunately went kaput and had to be repaired. So I don't remember all the details of this game. I think I can give you guys a little bit of some outlook, but I might forget some things, and I do apologize if that happens. So as you can see, the Hellmouth positioning is pretty good here. One of the Hellmouths is in the center there and is able to contest the zone. I don't have the tools in my list to really deal with the Hellmouths easily, so the one in the zone is going to be a problem. And I'm not really going to be able to score until I can get some heavy hitters over there. Potentially the Ironclad or maybe a couple Stormblades if they're able to make it that far. The other Hellmouth is behind the forest, so it's very safe. I don't think I have any way to deal with that one. And that's going to be able to put tentacles in the zone. Potentially pull in heavies, but I don't know if that's going to be a real issue. But I think it's in the right position where it can contest either the zone or the flag by just placing tentacles down. So anywhere I go for scenario, my opponent can stop me from scoring on his turn. And that's one of the ways that the Hellmouths are really important. We have the Firefly going up there. I think I might have actually temporal accelerated it. And then just shoot some tentacles. It doesn't really matter if you kill only one tentacle, but if you're able to kill more than one tentacle, and the Firefly did get some good dice, I think. And then here's Dynamo, I think, wiping all of the tentacles out of that gray Hellmouth unit there. If you're able to wipe out all the tentacles, they're not going to be able to jam you as much the next turn, and that Hellmouth's only going to get one back, so it's going to be a little bit better. We have Thorn going up, and I believe putting a Arcane Bolt into the Hellmouth in the zone just to get some extra damage on it. So Haley, I guess, didn't temporal accelerate that Firefly. She did do a couple points of damage to the Hellmouth, though. Starting to get work down on that as early as I can, just to make it easier for anything I get in there late game and everything else moving up. Fortunately, the Saeryn list threats relatively far. Between the Seraph and the Angelii being very high speed, they're able to go 14 inches. But Haley has a very similar threat range, and with Dynamo, she can just massively out-threat them. I think this is the Ironclad moving up to stay out of everybody's threat range as well. And then the Stormblades, not quite afeared, moving up pretty aggressively. So Dynamo is going to be a big part of this game. He's able to, with Haley's spells, he's able to really take out those Angelii at long range. So he's going to be the one forcing engagement on my part, so the Ironclad and the Stormblade Infantry can get in and really get a lot of work done. So here we have back over to the Legion player's turn. I think we have Respawn being dropped on that Angelii is closer to the camera there. The Spellmartyr running forward. One of Saeryn's big issues is that most of her spells cost 3 or more, so she's very Fury starved. She's very survivable, especially with the Nephilim Protector there, so she's not really in danger. She can go down to a very low camp, but she can't do everything she wants every turn. And this turn, she's throwing a Blightbringer out to hit all of my heavies. I think it hits Thorn as well as the Ironclad and Dynamo. So a bit of annoying there. Unfortunately, Haley is pretty good at mitigating the effects of Blightbringer, putting tokens down so we determine the models that are in the AoE. We don't really want to move everything and put an AoE down right now. But between our telekinesis and temporal acceleration, she can make it so that the heavies are fast enough they don't necessarily need to charge, and they're able to walk right out of the AoE and spend focus if they need to. Especially Dynamo isn't particularly perturbed by the AoE. He can't really aim and then expect to use focus to boost, but he can just walk out of the AoE and then act as normal, essentially. We have this dark unit of the Hellmouth unit running forward, everything moving up to jam. Fortunately, I have the Ironclad there, and I think hopefully he can get in and kill some of those tentacles to free up the rest of the army. But everything's low model count and sort of melee oriented, so those Hellmouth tentacles are going to be a bit of an issue. I don't really want to have to spend Stormblade infantry attacks getting rid of them just so I can move past them. But if I don't get rid of them next turn, they're going to be able to run around, potentially engage me again, and just be really annoying. We have the Angelius. I think that's the Banishing Warded Angelius there, moving back behind. I think it was slipstreamed back to protect Zuriel. We see the Angelii being very careful right now, especially the one that does not have Banishing Ward on it. There is a potential for that one for Thorn to move out very far and telekinesis that one around, and for Dynamo to get shots in on him as well. And I think that is my plan this turn. One of the issues that I found in editing videos for Mark III is that pre-measuring makes, especially me, I don't know about other people, but I take a lot of time planning out my turns before I activate any models, and it adds a lot of dead time in the turn, so I actually just had to cut out about a 2-minute part of this video. And if you think that a 2-minute part of a video speed up to 4 times speed is a lot of time that I spend putting proxy bases down, and now you can see that the board is littered with proxy bases. We have the Ironclad going over there and punching one of the tentacles, and I think failing to kill another one. Thorn moved up and just got into range, I believe, to get some spells out. There he is. So we're moving up with the telekinesis into range of Zuriel. Now Zuriel is very important in this matchup because he is an arc node, so he's going to be able to put out either a assassination threat on Haley or potentially additional Blightbringers or Best Dealers later on. So there goes the telekinesis onto him. We cast another telekinesis onto a Stormlance to bring him into range, and around that water, that shallow water there. So he's going to be able to get into melee with the Angelius in the it's a proxy base right now, but Angelius next to Zuriel. And I think Haley's feeding takes out that last tentacle, and then that is where we are. So we have one Angelius turned around, or sorry, Zuriel turned around behind the Angelius there in range of Dynamo and all these Stormlances, or these Stormblade Assaults. A couple Stormblade Assaults are going to get there. Then that's, with the Firefly bonus, going to do a lot of damage to Zuriel and hopefully take him out. Dynamo, or the Stormlances and any other attacks that I have left over can go into the Banishing Warded Angelius. It's in the zone there. And hopefully with the Stormlances, they can cripple that one enough that it's going to really make it worth my while for the feat. So we have a couple of melee attacks going down, kills some of the tentacles, and then did some significant damage to Dynamo, or to Zuriel, sorry. And then here Dynamo goes, rolling pretty well. He can use his Future Sight to boost after the fact if he ends up missing any of his 5s to hit Zuriel there. He got one last attack. I think he might have been temporal accelerated. So he had 5 total attacks, and his last one, which comes in at power 18, I think, if I'm remembering that correctly. I'm sorry. 18 sounds right. We'll go with 18 for now. 18 into the Angelius there. I think Raw dogged his hit roll and just boosted for a ton of damage. So we got a bunch of damage in from there. We got the Stormlance Assault coming in, as well as a melee attack and 2 Stormlance melee attacks. And between those, with the Firefly bonus and the POW 15 charges, we're able to kill that Angelius as well. So I did roll pretty well to kill that Angelius, better than I was expecting for sure. But when those Angelii take almost any damage at all, they can go down pretty fast. So an incredibly strong Alpha Strike from Haley. Dynamo obviously facilitates a ton of that damage all by himself. With Future Sight and the Firefly bonus, he can move up, be relatively safe with Haley's feet, and just rip a heavy off the table every turn. He is a monster with Haley. And especially against light armor stuff like Angelii, he's very likely with Haley's debuffs to hit, and then he's very likely to do a ton of damage with his gun. So Angelii are one of his favorite targets, I think. Next to maybe like Armor 18 Warjacks with a shield that Haley can turn around. Those are pretty cool. They tend to be low defense too, so he can hit them every time pretty easily. So here we have coming back. Unfortunately, I think the Angelius there is under Haley's feet, so it's not going to be really able to do anything. The Hellmouth, the Dark Hellmouth there, ends up putting a tentacle next to the Firefly and dragging it in. My opponent really wants to shut down that damage buff from Dynamo, so he's not going to be able to get quite as much damage out and really rip those heavies up as much as he could potentially previously. So he's so my opponent's trying to get rid of that Firefly anyway, and to get him out of position so he's not able to give that damage buff anymore. He's also way out of the Journeyman's control area now, so he's never going to be able to get focus or run or anything like that again. The other Hellmouth moved up there. It looks like took a tentacle attack onto a Stormlance. You can place the tentacles in the back arc, so you can get a pretty good chance of hitting and dragging it in and killing it with the Maw's attack. I believe we did have Saeryn go up and try to Hellfire one of the Stormlances and missed, and then ended up having to take an additional attack and kill him. But we do have Stormlances going down now. 2 Stormlances dead on Haley's feet turn. That Hellmouth is still in the zone, so I'm not really going to be able to score. I'm sorry, I think that was something else killing that Stormlance. We have a Blightbringer going down on Thorn, so he's not going to be able to run without any help from Haley. Yeah, that must have been the Seraph killing the Stormlance there, I think is what happened. Saeryn moves up to the zone, just dominate for, to the flag to dominate for 1 point. She is on a relatively heavy camp. She's camping 2, I think, or maybe 3, and that makes her pretty resilient. Thorn can't run over there. I could potentially TK her around and get some Stormlance attacks on her, but my guns aren't good enough at hitting her, so they're not going to be able to do a ton of damage, and it would just be a couple Stormlance attacks. I'm not going to try to go for an assassination run this turn. It's definitely on the table, but it's not as good as just continuing the plan of attack. So enacting the plan, it looks like we have Thorn going first, moving up to get the telekinesis, onto that Angelius, that next Angelius as well. Without banishing Ward on it, that Angelius is going to be pretty vulnerable to Haley's control, so she TKs him in right there, and then I believe TKs herself over and gets onto the flag, killing a Hellmouth Tentacle with her hand cannon. She's still able to camp a couple even after that and score me a juicy little control point as well. So we TK'd the Angelius into the range of the Firefly bubble, so that's good. So the Angelius is going to be in range for Dynamo to get extra damage on him. Dynamo's going in using that Future Sight to guarantee some hits and just dealing a bunch of damage there. And then we have the Stormblades going in as well. And getting a bunch of Stormblades in. The unit leader there with his 2-inch melee range looks like 4 Stormblades going in, needing 7s to hit on the assaults. I don't think I roll particularly well here. I deal a bunch of damage, but not enough to kill the Angelius. I think I leave it on just a couple boxes. Looks like 5 there, maybe, and then I miss a bunch of Stormblade attacks needing 5s as well. So that was pretty sad. I was a little upset about that. I'm still in a very good position here. Both my heavies are in the zone, really in threat range of everything. The Blightbringer is a little bit annoying. I get 1 charge on Saeryn, I believe, with the Stormlance. I hit and I deal a significant amount of damage. She transferred it off to the Protector, I think, or maybe the Seraph. But I do end up contesting that flag with Stormlances, so Saeryn's not able to just score easily. I also have Thorn over there just in case I need to, so I feel like I'm in a good position here despite not killing that Angelius. The Stormblades are all going to get annihilated, unfortunately, by either the Angelius or the Hellmouths or the Black Frost Shard. There's so many things over there that are good at killing Stormlances, and that is going to free up the Angelius to basically charge any of my heavies I want. I was sort of positioning to... expecting it was going to die to Dynamo and the Stormblades, but I didn't roll very well. Looks like the Black Frost Shard are going, takes out the... I'm sorry, the Hellmouth goes and takes out the Firefly and a couple Stormlances as well with the Tentacles. And here come the Black Frost Shard moving up. They have Battle Wizard, so they're able to get double duty off their melee attacks. They can hit and kill pretty easily, and then as well get some Ice Bolts into the Stormblades. I think I'd Iron Zealed the previous turn, so they weren't able... They didn't have an armor buff on them at this point. I think that was an Ice Bolt going into Thorn as well and missed, so he was able to take a dodge movement to get away. So almost all the Stormblades are dead. There are 2 left at this point, I think, hiding in that trench there, and that is all that's left of the Stormblades. The Stormlances slowly dying. There's one of them getting hit by a Hellmouth, and I think it left on 1 box, I believe. The Seraph goes over and slipstreams that Angelius around, so it's going to be able to attack, and then kills that second Stormlance over there as well. Is that right? Actually, that might have been Saeryn moving. I think Saeryn moved the Seraph with a slipstream, and then the Seraph slipstreamed the Angelius and then killed another Stormlance with its gun. So 2 Stormlances left. And we have the Angelius go into, I want to say Dynamo, and get a big armor pierce off on him and get a bunch of damage into him. I believe crippling his melee weapon, if I remember correctly, but I don't remember exactly off the top of my head. Crippled 1 arm anyway, and did a bunch of damage to Dynamo. Certainly leaving Dynamo in just a couple boxes, but fortunately, I do have 2 heavies there. He's only really got the Angelius left, as well as the Seraph, which isn't going to do a ton of damage. So I was feeling pretty good at this point. Saeryn did score a 2nd point, and I think I did as well. I don't think there's anything contesting my flag. The Hellmouths went in to kill those Stormblade Infantry, so fortunately I was able to get another point out. The Ironclad goes up and finishes off the Seraph, or sorry, the Angelius there. I over-allocated to him. I think I allocated a bunch of focus, and then I basically just one-shot it. He only had a couple boxes left after being healed. Stormblade Infantry go in, kill up the Hellmouth in the zone, and with Ragman's help, it looks like, and Thorn's going up to TK the Seraph in and hopefully get rid of it, making sure not to put it in the zone in case I don't get rid of it. But that's going to put me at 3 points at the end of this turn, and my opponent's going to be hard-pressed to stop me from winning on scenario at the end there. So there's the Seraph getting TK'd in, and then it looks, I think Dynamo is going to have his way with it. Oh, no, I was wrong. It looks like Dynamo killed the Angelius, and then the Ironclad went in. I apologize. I forgot what I did in this game. So the Ironclad went in and beat up on the Seraph, didn't kill it, and then we have a Stormlance going in to hit on the Seraph, or sorry, hit Saeryn, and which forced a transfer to the Nephilim Protector, which I think killed it after the other transfer from the previous turn, but left the Seraph alive. Haley received Arcane Shield from the Journeyman. There's no Naga on this list, so hopefully that will keep her safe. She's in a pretty strong spot right now, and my opponent basically has to try to kill her. The Seraph used its Apparition to get out of melee, it looks like, so it's going to be able to walk around and potentially take some pot shots at her, and then maybe flare her and open the way for some Ice Bolts, but I don't think there's any way that Saeryn can get far enough over to get a Hellfire or any other offensive spells on her. So at this point, it's really up to a couple POW 12s to see if they can kill Haley with Arcane Shield and a couple Focus. We'll see how it goes, but I don't think it's going to be able to do anything. Saeryn does, I believe, try to clear the zone and kill a couple Stormlances to get him out of the way. She's moving up and left the unit leader alive, it looks like, but that'll be 4 Stormlances dead. We have the Hellmouth going and getting rid of the Stormblade unit leader that's in the way there, so that reach model is going to be gone for the Black Frost Shard to move up. They're moving up and taking a couple Ice Bolts onto Haley, but I don't think they really did anything important. Not sure why the Seraph didn't go first to try to flare her, but she was not killed by the last couple of attacks the Legion player had to bring to bear there. So fortunately, Haley survived and was able to score on my opponent's turn for the victory. So that's that game. I hope you guys enjoyed that battle report. Again, I apologize for not remembering everything off the top of my head that happened. Again, it was a long time ago and in a game store far away. But I hope you guys enjoyed this battle report. Stay tuned for some Nova Open battle reports. I'm hoping to get one out early next week, but no promises. I'm leaving next week for Amsterdam for the World Team Championship, so I'm not going to be around to record any videos. So maybe there'll be a video next week. Nova Open, I think I'm going to have the quarterfinals out, and then the week after that, I will have the finals from the event Masters out. So stay tuned for those. Again, please, if you would like to help out the YouTube channel and get some more videos out, as well as hopefully some better cameras and other things like that, please check out my Patreon, patreon.com/wayoftheswan. And otherwise, keep it classy, folks.